I've been in the industry for the last 10 years, looking at analytics as a technology for the last 6 years. I've been looking at the change in the trends, right? We went from huge warehouses to data lakes to advanced analytics, prescriptive, predictive analytics, and now at IBM we say cognitive analytics. So I've been through the journey, and I'd like to share some of my thoughts and views about how we are trying to disrupt the market when it comes to analytics, when it comes to handling data, and what we are trying to do in this space. So we had very good insights into what's happening in healthcare, how AI is being adopted into healthcare, in automobile, connected cars in that division. So I'd like to sort of start off with a high-level view of what's happening in the analytics space. We've seen a couple of slides on Watson, and a lot of people know that Watson does a lot of things, and there tends to be a confusion on what Watson actually is. Some think it's AI, artificial intelligence. Some people think it's a gaming device. People say, okay, it plays Jeopardy. So, but what Watson was is IBM wanted to sort of take advantage of a lot of technologies that it had and build a project, right, which will sort of tap into the whole AI concept, sort of give you the cognitive computing, right, humanized computing, where it puts everything into context. It not just looks at the data, but it looks at the context of what it is we are trying to do. And this was best displayed in the Jeopardy show, where the quizmaster sort of asks a question, and Watson has to not just read the text, but it has to put it in context of what is being asked for and give an answer. So it was a huge project, right? It was a huge, it was a very ambitious project. After doing that, we were able to successfully show the world what AI can do. But what does it mean for industry, right? Are there companies out there who will invest a lot of money and buy the big Watson, which will fill up a room? Is it practically possible? So then what we thought was, how do we make this consumable, right? End of the day, this is an amalgamation of a lot of technologies from IBM. So we said, Watson did a lot of great voice processing. We said, okay, voice processing is one thing that customers would want to plug into their applications or their current business. We did a lot of AI, machine learning. So we said, okay, that could be a module which customers want to embed in their systems, probably in healthcare, probably in connected cars, right, where a driver speaks to the car and the car responds. So we sort of broke down the Watson project into consumable technologies, and that is what we have as of today. As an offering, that is what is being used. When we talk about Watson Healthcare, what does it do? It takes data from across all the health systems, looks at all the patient records, looks at all the material that is available for a particular disease, and comes up with a recommended diagnosis. And this is deep machine learning, where it is taking up pointers from a lot of material. It is not just simply relying on one doctor's experience, but this is from a collective experience of thousands of doctors who've provided diagnosis for a number of cases. So this is how we're trying to sort of utilize what we learned from Watson into different verticals. So and the Watson connected car is also a similar experiment, where we are using our machine learning, runtime analytics to sort of see how we can do a driverless car. And what we've discovered is, when people are consuming analytics, we want to create different personas. So there is something to do with data. So these days you hear a lot of terms called data engineers. The best analytics will only happen if you have good data quality. So if your data is not good, probably your analytics or insights are not great. So we sort of break the whole analytics experience into different personas: a data engineer, and then the analytical applications itself. Then you have a visualization layer where analyst is experiencing. And then finally, you build applications on top of it. So that is a broader concept of what we come up with, the Watson data platform, where we have broken all the technologies and we said there are different personas that you might want to use when it comes to analytics. And based on all of this, there are different technologies that you can use. So what I've done today is I will touch upon a small part of Watson, which is called Watson Analytics, and tell you how it is disrupting the market or what is innovative about it, right? So, and this is to do with self-service in the BI layer. When we talk about business intelligence, the reality is you have a lot of business users who are asking a lot of business-related questions, but you don't have a lot of IT analysts on the other end. And these guys are not able to deliver insights in time, right? The business user might have 10 questions, and the analyst might provide a couple of answers, and he'll have 10 more questions based on those answers. So the IT is not able to catch up to what the business user demands or the business demands. And if it is not met in time, there are no insights and there are no decisions being taken. So this is a very big gap, right? Which is why self-service is very important, where a business user is able to consume and take a decision without having to rely on the IT to give him a report. And if you enable all your business users with self-service BI, the entire organization automatically becomes intelligent, right? They don't have to sort of depend on IT, and everybody is enabled with the data. They know what the data is saying. So overall, the organization is much more, resourceful and insightful. So which is why we feel self-service is the need of the hour in BI. And what's happening today is you have a lot of solutions which claim to be self-service, but they're not truly self-service. There is still a lot of dependency on somebody in the back end doing a lot of stuff for them. A lot of desktop BI tools that we have, it still requires a lot of IT hand-holding. They need to create a bunch of things for the business user to consume it, right? And there are a lot of limitations in terms of what kind of analytics you could do on them. So, and the final thing is, once you need a lot of effort to deploy these solutions, time, resources, and effort to consume these resources. So what we try to do, in fact, I forgot one of the pointers, was the solutions today, they look at data, and when a business user asks a question, the IT analyst already has a bias in his head. So let's take some assumption. Let's take a healthcare scenario. Somebody says, which is the region which has, which is the region which requires where the doctors are less? Probably this is a question a business user asks. So the IT analyst might already have a notion that this is probably a region which might not fare well. So he starts from there. So he has a bias towards, what is right, and he has a notion in his head, and he starts drilling down there. It is not pure data talking. So we want to remove this bias out of BI. We want to say, let the data talk. Let's not say, I know something and I'll start from there. And I'll talk about how it is useful. So we wanted to create something which is very simple, yet very powerful. And the result of that is, from our Watson experience, we've created something called Watson Analytics. Now what Watson Analytics does is, it takes up all the data, it gives you a very simple interface which is enabled with natural language processing, where a business user without any effort is able to ask questions and get some actionable insights, right? There are multiple things which come together to make this possible. And in a nutshell, that's what Watson Analytics is. And the applications for this are wide-ranging. And this cuts across verticals, this cuts across industries, it cuts across departments. A financial guy no longer has to, do the tedious job of going through Excel sheets of data. He can simply ask, what are my top accounts receivable, and he can get that data. So I'll just go into Watson Analytics, and I'll just show you how simple it is to start up, interpret some data, and I'll step into the shoes of a business user. I'll just think that I'm a business user. You'll see that without having to write a single SQL query, without having to understand any programming language, how I'll be able to interpret the data and do some predictive analytics on top of my data without having any coding or any data experience. So I'm going to do everything right now so that there's nothing which I've done beforehand except having the data, just to showcase how easy and simple it is if I were a business user. So yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. I'll just, yeah. So I'm just launching Watson Analytics instance. So the moment it comes on, you'll see that there is no installation required. Of course, this is software as a service. You just get an account on the cloud, and the moment you log in, you go in, you probably upload, connect to a database, or have a data set ready. And once you're in there, so I just click on Explore. I have some sample data sets already. If you see that, I'll just take one data set which is called Find Valuable Customers. Probably this is something which everyone will understand. This is a sample insurance industry data set. It just has the customer ID, how many policies does he have, what location he's from, his education, other demographic data. So I've just selected the data set, and if you're looking at the screen, it is giving me all these questions, which is asking me without even me doing anything. So if I were a business user, all I do is I say, this is my data set, and Watson gives me some starting points, saying, what do you want to look at today? What is the trend of income over month by location code? Maybe I'm interested in finding, what is the income trend over a location code. Is there a location where incomes are high, some other locations where incomes are low? And if I'm not interested in any of these insights, if I want to find out my own stuff, so I can just say education, okay, it autofills education, income, location, right? And then just say, and I don't even have to hit enter, it is already giving me suggestions saying, do you want to see how education, location and income compare? Now this is probably an interesting insight for me. I want to sort of have my next marketing campaign based on this data. I want to see who are my customers, what locations, what is their education, and how does income fare. This is a sample data set. It might not be a true picture of what reality is, but the idea is for a business user, this is what we are doing in terms of self-service, right? You don't have to write any code, you don't have to understand, you just have to understand what your data is all about. What do you have in the data? So if I were an insurance guy, if I were a marketing guy or a sales manager who has no idea how to write a SQL, and Excels are tedious, I come here, I throw in my data and I say, okay, I want to search ABC, and it comes up with all the graphics. So this is what we're talking about, self-service, truly self-service. It's not half-baked, but it is totally. And if I go one step further, right, and say, how do I make my customers use predictive analytics, right? When I say predictive analytics, people think we need to have a data scientist who will build models and will come up with predictions. So if we want to do self-service even in that space, So what we have come up with is within Watson Analytics is something called as predict. Again, I'll use the same data set that we just tried. Find valuable customers. So what it does is, this is what I talk about. We removed the biases so we are talking about purely data. So the moment data loads, you get all these things which you can predict on. Basically what it does is it takes the column names and it says which column do you want to predict on. So one of the column names in my data set is most valuable customer, right? So let me predict on that. Let me remove everything else. Say income, okay, customer life value. I have to enter a value here, 1, 2, 3. So I'll just probably take 30 seconds. So once this comes up, again, from a business user standpoint, right? I don't have any advanced training in predictive technologies. I don't know data science. I don't know nothing. I just have a data set, and I'm saying I have this data which tells me my customer has bought whatever number of policies, he's from location, different locations and stuff. And I say, okay, what can I predict from this? So it'll be very interesting, you know, what the results show. So I'll just wait for it to come up rather than speak before it comes up. And this is, like I said, this is purely data talking. So it looks at the correlation between different columns, and it says, these are 3 or 4 columns which are influencing your target column, right? If in a traditional way, analysts would sit there and say, my most customer probably would be the guy who owns 3 houses and 5 cars and has a lot of money in his bank. That might not be true. They might not be doing a lot of business with the bank. So there is no notion. You start with a notion when you do traditional analytics. Here, Watson looks at all the data points, and it says that this is a set of customers who are giving you a lot of business, not what you think. So there could be a lot of new insights which you could, which you could uncover, again, without having to learn the entire technology, without having to go through the steep curve of learning data science. Come on. That was just a project name that I should give it. Yeah, could give it any name. So there we go. Okay. Probably the slow speed. This is completely on cloud. Watson is thinking. So it has come up, and it also gives me data quality. It tells me how good my data is. Based on that, it tells me how good the predictive strength is. And for all this, it requires a lot of skilled people. So what we have done is we have reduced that effort. If I look at it, has given me 3 indicators, single indicators. So it says number of policies is a direct predictor, and the strength is 47%, right? So these are single columns which are influencing most, influencers for my target column. And then I can say, do a prediction on multiple columns. Now it has come up with a lot of results, okay. So it's telling me all these columns are influencers for my target column, which is my customer lifetime value. And I can go ahead and I can say, I'll click on the actual decision process, how it has come there. So we've got a detailed decision tree of how it has finally figured out these are my customers. So if you are a data scientist or if you love data, you can sort of interpret this. It has detailed information. Then we have a decision table where it says these are my top customers, and the conditions are, the policies are lesser or greater than 2, vehicle class is luxury, and average income is something, oh, not average income, but. So basically it gives a condition on who are my top set of customers, right? And I'm doing this by clicking through the tool, not learning any, not doing any, coding or any programming. So the entire AI, machine learning, predictive capabilities in the tool, and you just have to click through buttons and understand your data. So this is just a broad use case. Now we can take this use case to manufacturing. You probably have data where you have a bunch of parameters which are being churned out, and you can say if there is a fault, probably you record that, and you can simply say predict on this column, and it will say what are the 3 or 4 factors which are predicting your quality, product quality, or So this is a high level, automative process for business users to gather insights, quickly act on them, and the very practical use cases for this. If you're talking about retail or financial, you could be a bank manager, right? And have a lot of data on your customers, but not know what campaign to run. Traditionally, we just, you probably might be running traditional campaigns, but not focused campaigns. So if he were to run through this, he'd know who are my customers who are buying a home loan or a car loan, or who are my top set of customers, where should I target the investment plans. So all of these insights without having to go through the entire learning curve of doing predictive analytics. So this is just one piece of Watson. Watson is a lot of things, and this is what we are doing in the analytics space. So, and we have something for healthcare, we have something for automotive industry, and we are coming with something for manufacturing industry. And this is a small part of it which cuts across all verticals to showcase how we can automate and reduce some of the burden on IT and push it to the business to find out answers and better engage their customers. So that's Watson Analytics for you. And if you have any questions, I can sort of take them, or I can show you more on the tool itself. So this is a completely new piece, just like the iPad disrupted the market. We have traditional BI, where you are publishing a lot of reports across the enterprise. Then we have this self-service BI, which fits in along with your traditional BI and says, instead of, so I was talking to a customer whose practical problem was, I have a 15-member BI team, and they do 100 reports in a day, month, and week, so total 100 reports. And they have management who's asking them reports every morning. And whenever I go and ask my BI team, what are you doing? I'm busy doing a report, right? And they have a charter to do advanced analytics. They have a charter where they're getting external data and do some advanced predictions. See, how am I going to fare in the next quarter? Will my sales be up or down? But they are not doing any of that. All they are doing is churning report after report every day, and they're busy 8 hours in a day. So this is something which immensely helped them. They said, okay, I'll put my data in, and the business user goes and finds out what he wants to find out. And my IT guys are actually free, and they can focus on advanced analytics. They can sort of now do projects which will help us, in the future predict more things. So this is where the whole analytics industry is heading. And there's a lot of things to discuss, but I guess I'll stop here. And that's Watson Analytics for you. Thank you.